final pre-Trade Center quiz, not that anyone cares. A straightforward question in the wake of an eventful day in the NHL, eventful few days for the Florida teams. We ask, where is the center of the hockey universe? Toronto, we often say that. Montreal, we often say that. Or is it the state of Florida, home of the last 5 Stanley Cup finals and 3 rings,
I'm going to go with the state of Florida, Jimmy. I mean, there's great tradition in both markets. Hockey-crazed fans in Montreal. Every November at the Hockey Hall of Fame, everyone gathers to see you hand out the plaques, and people think it's the Mecca. It's the state of Florida. 5 straight Stanley Cup finals for those teams. That's incredible, and it's about the now.
Montreal for me, 24 Stanley Cups. The next closest, the Toronto Maple Leafs with 13. I think of names like Jean Beliveau, to name a few. You got the Rocket Richard. And when I think about it, I think about my grandpa. He was a GM of the Montreal Junior Canadiens, and my brother used to go down to the Forum and talk about the history and the nostalgia around it. So for me, I continue to think Montreal.
Yeah, you're way big picture for me. That's I'm going to Florida just like and I'm looking at recency. I'm looking at the Stanley Cup runs, the Stanley Cup champions, the defending Stanley Cup champs, and the Florida Panthers. And it is about today, and it's about this week. And the Florida Panthers are positioning themselves with the trade deadline looming of going back to that final.
I just realized we don't have the belt. Puff, get the belt for us. We're disorganized here before Trade Center. Which blue and white blue liner is more important to the Leafs' fortunes down the stretch and into the playoffs? Morgan Rielly or Jake McCabe, Drakes?
Morgan Rielly, because we know that the game that Morgan Rielly can play, that he has played in leading the Toronto Maple Leafs, but that's not the game that he's playing this season. Now, he's had to make some adjustments. We know that with a different coach in Craig Berube. Sure, there could be some help defensively on the way. You've got Chris Tanev, who's expected to play either versus Colorado or Utah, but to go deep in the playoffs, Rielly needs to be a contributing factor. Everything okay over there? There's a lot going on here.
Puff left for a coffee, so I don't know who's going to get the belt. Cheryl.
Jake McCabe for me, and when I think of Jake McCabe, I think he's having an excellent season. He's playing confident alongside Tanev. I mean, this is a shutdown pair. So when you get into the playoffs, you have to be able to negate the offensive punch of a top line, and these two have to be able to do it. I think that will also allow players like Morgan Rielly to activate a little bit more in that second pairing.
I'm going Morgan Rielly. You see Tanev out of the lineup, and people are like, oh, how's this decor going to react? Morgan Rielly's a guy that can step up and be their #1 defenseman like he's paid to be. We've always talked about how he rises to the occasion in the playoffs. He's going to have to do it before the playoffs this year.
The crew came through and dug it out of the garbage can where they leave it every week. Which is the bigger shock, that highly touted Edmonton is in a free fall, losing 6 of 7 games, or that Connor McDavid has temporarily lost track of his superpowers, going -14 in the last 8-0?
Connor McDavid, for me, usually he's the guy that he kind of puts them on their back and he gets things done. He did have the incredible goal last night. But to go -14, Connor McDavid is usually the guy that pulls Edmonton out of this.
Edmonton Oilers as a group, for me, you know, they've allowed at least 4 goals in their losses. And when you look at that, from their goaltending to their defense to their connection right through all 3 zones, I look at this group as a unit, not just Connor McDavid. You know that he's going to come back with a vengeance. But for me right now, it is the entire squad.
McDavid, just coming out of the Four Nations face-off in that goal, I thought this guy was literally going to throw the team on his back and rocket them right back into the playoffs and go deep again. He's starting to play better, but they have been near lifeless of late.
March Madness is ahead, but March Madness already underway in the NHL, which brings us to a video daily double. We want to know which clip you've liked best from the last few days in March. Ilya Sorokin's crazy goalie goal that was technically a goal, but not really a goalie goal, but counted as a goal. Or heavyweights Brady Tkachuk and Tom Wilson going at it. Which one do you like, Cheryl?
Tkachuk and Wilson fighting at the end of the first period as well. I love the timing of this fight. Each of them going back to their dressing rooms. Can you just imagine in the room with these 2 heavyweights going toe-to-toe?
Drakes.
Anytime there's anything related to a goalie goal, that's got my attention. So it is Sorokin for me. And look, why are we surprised that Tom Wilson and Brady Tkachuk are fighting? I understand the time of year. I understand what these teams are trying to do. But again, you've got a goalie getting credited with a goal in an NHL regular season game. It's not a fair comparison.
I'm going with the Tkachuk and Wilson fight, Jimmy. It was almost like Tom Wilson said, in the future, I want to be on some kind of team, and I want to be on that opening night face-off. And I'm not going to take a shot at my guy Stammer. because that was his goal.
Yeah,
Let's
that
not
was tough.
forget it.
And he's had a
I didn't mention
tough
his name.
run. You guys were all good, but that first question about the hockey universe, in the times we are in right now, even though Florida might have been the right answer, a Canadian answer is the only answer that is accepted. That's the quiz.